What is up? Welcome back to Friday Fuel, from unknown to unforgettable. We have a very special guest today. As you guys are tuning in, this is a pre-recording. So if you're tuning in, drop in the comments where you're tuning in from and your weekly win. So far, my weekly win, we came out swinging. December, coming out crushing it. We were able to do great things as an agency, but personally, had one of my biggest days. Did like in the past 4 days, 25,000 so far. Pretty much all of it issued except like one app that got declined from like 6 years ago. I'm like, what in the world? The medication came up, but it's definitely been good getting on my grind and just continuing to push on the gas over and over and over again. I was reminded of this saying. So like I kind of slowed down a little bit on the third day, the middle of the third day, and somebody's like, you never know when the gap, like when you're going to be lights out and just closing everybody. And so if you choose voluntarily to slow down, you never know when you're going to be hot again. So whenever you get hot, you have to keep going and going and going. And so if you see at the bottom there, it says put the gas on the fire. It's Friday. Continue putting the gas on the fire, especially when you're hot. So that's a big piece of advice that I was given this week. That I just really want to share with you guys. But we have a super incredible guest. I'm shocked that we're even able to get him on here. This is the biggest guest that we've ever had in the insurance syndicate. Guys, this guy needs no introduction, but just to say the least, going from $1 billion in revenue this year, the owner and founder of Family First Life. We have SHAWN MEAIKE on Friday Fueled. SHAWN, thanks so much for coming on here, man.
Thanks for having me, dude. I love your energy. I love what you're doing, man.
I appreciate you. Seriously. Well, let's hop right into this because I have so many questions that I personally want to ask you. And I know a lot of people are like, would want to ask, I think, similar things. And so that's the whole goal of this podcast, is to really like the questions that I personally like have always wondered and thought about. Like if I had the opportunity to ask these types of questions, like what would other people that don't have a voice or platform, what would they ask? So I think the the question that I have is, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned building one of the biggest life insurance organizations ever?
Well, man, I got my license in '08, Johnny, and I got my license, to be really transparent. I was working two jobs. A guy named Jim introduced me to the industry, asked if I want to make some extra money. I said, sure. But one of my jobs, dude, I was working with abused and neglected children for 14 years. Like, I love serving people. It's a big part. I was reading the other day that service makes your self-loathing behavior more tolerable, right? Because we all have our own self-loathing behavior, and I've always tried to serve best I can, right? So
Yeah.
for us, we got in the business. I had been in the business for 5 years, selling life insurance. The single greatest thing that you said to me, or as I'm listening to you bring me on and intro the show, was how much you wrote the other day. Because for me, this industry became, when I got in it, there were a lot of people with an opinion, and they had no right to have an opinion. There were a lot of people that didn't sell anything ever, that were telling people how to sell. And I actually was like, I don't even, like, I said to a guy one day, I said, shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Like, I know that sounds dumb, but like, dude, shut up. You don't sell anything. You've never sold anything. You don't know how to do this. When you start giving people advice, they're trying to feed their families, man. They're trying to give back to their communities. They're trying to pay their own bills. So I never lost sight of the fact that the client has to be first. It has to be great for the client, great for the agent, and it can't harm the company. One of the things that people said about us the first 4 years was, and I heard this over and over again, don't join Family First Life. They won't be in business after 4 years, because they said we gave away too much of the money. We wouldn't charge for things. We wouldn't charge for a convention. We didn't have lead override. We paid comp too high. All these things they were mad about. And I said, you know what? If we make it 4 years, you all are so screwed if you're competing. That's kind of what we held on to, dude. We just wanted to do it right. And we wanted to serve the clients. The thing I held on to, Johnny, for me too was, and I've said this to everybody I've always been in business with, I wanted to be in a business where I could go meet with clients all week long. I could go to the grocery store on a Friday night, and if I ran into 3 of them, I was happy to run into them. I was proud of how I served them, and I wasn't like ducking, bobbing, and weaving. I could take every phone call. I was very honest with my clients. No
Yeah.
matter what they could or couldn't get, I was direct, and I built relationships with them. So we've never, ever forgotten that, because sometimes people get big or they think they're big, and they lose sight of what's important.
Yeah.
And dollar bill has to be second to service. And that's service to clients and agents.
That's so good. That's so good. I love it. And obviously, like everybody, I feel like everybody sees what Family First is now, right? They see the even you, Sean Mike, they see the verifications on all platforms. They see the hundreds of thousands of followers. They see the $1 billion in revenue that you guys are going to do this year. They see all these crazy things, the jets, the nice cars, the watches, like all these things. What was that like coming up? Like building that, because everybody sees what it's like now. How was it? How were you able to overcome adversity when you were like challenged building that organization that you've built?
Well, first of all, and I'm a big straight shooter in numbers. We definitely do not have $1 billion revenue.
Okay.
Our goal, well, I want to let you know what our goal was. We had 2 goals the first year. We wanted to issue $1 billion in premium within 10 years annually. Right. So, and I'm just, Johnny, I always want to shoot everybody straight. Right. So I just want to make sure it's like you would me. So this year we'll probably be, as a company, issued life and annuity volume somewhere in the ballpark of 750 million, right in there, which is it's a massive number, right? Cool. It's great. But when you look at the way we're structured, what we love is we knew a little bit of a lot would become more than enough. So we were looking to build something massive, and then we could make a good living. Most folks want to build something small, make so much money off of a few people. And I'm like, dude, that's not long-term. Because what I saw in the business was so much turnover, right? We didn't want to have that. It's funny you say that, because I remember sitting in my office in Connecticut with Mike Sizer, as one of the very first employees we had. And he said, can you give me 2 goals that we have for the company over the next decade? And I said, yeah, first one is to issue $1 billion. So next year, Johnny, come hell or high water, if I got to go sell $25,000 every day, I will. We are going to issue $1 billion in life and annuity premium as a company. All right. We're going to make a lot of people that work with us 6- and 7-figure income earners. That's going to be great. A lot of them won't do it, but the ones that choose to do it, and everybody, has an opportunity, but you have to go out there, and we could talk about that in a little bit, about what you got to do. What's crazy coming up through this whole deal was I actually have kind of been blown away how fast we grew it. Like, I always want to grow faster because that's how I am. But I really never, I love when you talk about the disruptor that you are and what you're doing here, because that's a big deal for me. And I think we're in a place that needs some disruption. I think we need that, and that's good for all of us. But I really think when you look at it, man, our first office, the corporate office for 3 years, was maybe 1,400 square feet. And people would come in the office in Gales Ferry, Connecticut. And one guy came in one day, he goes, well, I really am contemplating joining the company, but I really just thought the corporate office would be a lot, I said, nicer and bigger and more extravagant. And he goes, well, yeah, all of the above. I go, well, good. We'll put you at a lower comp. We'll charge you fees, and I'll have the baddest office ever. He looked at me and he said, this office looks like it will do. And I think, Johnny, the things that we've been able to accomplish, to me, were never our goals. So the things you're talking about, social media, how big, I remember one of our organizations, they started doing their YouTube deal. And I was like, I just want to let them explode and grow. And they're like, you're not mad that we drive traffic there? I'm like, dude, I want everybody to get big and do what they want to do and have. So those have all been byproducts. And Johnny, I'm also somebody who, I believe that if you read your own press clippings too much and think you're better than you are, then I think you'll be humbled. I think God's the greatest humbler, and I want to stay and do the right thing. I don't preach to anybody, whatever everybody believes, and I'm happy. I don't judge anybody. I don't want to be judged. But, the other stuff that we've been able to accomplish that's fine. But what excites me is the amount of agents this year that got paid, and the amount of clients that got life insurance. That when I look at you, Johnny, and listen to you talk about how many families you're protecting, what you're doing, it's like, I look at what you might be doing had you not found the insurance industry.
Oh yeah.
And I think, for me, it's been one hell of a ride. And I think, though, the key for a lot of people when they start this business, let's say they work really hard like you, and they go out and help 20 families a week,
Yeah.
and they make more money than they've ever made in their lives. What happens to most people is they just slow down and shut down. And this is an industry on the life side that you can't do that. You have to keep moving, especially with the way the advancements work, right?
Yeah.
And people will say to me, there's self-sabotaging behavior. I'm like, I don't know, man. I have a social work degree, a psychology degree. I don't know if that's necessarily true. There's a theorist back in the days, it was called the looking glass self. And I said to him, and I read about it one day, and I was like, man, that's so true, because I wish if I could create one thing, if somebody said to me, if you could invent one thing, I'd love to invent a mirror that if I put it up in front of you, Johnny, that you could see exactly what I see. Sharp young man can build as big a business as I built, if not bigger, who can actually change people's lives and who actually can be influential. And that doesn't mean some of those things you don't believe, but you need to believe them all, like to the 10th power, right? It's just, it's so for us, man, I'm really blown away. Like when I go places with people, and I love it because some of these guys have never had, I saw the guy the other day, he's like, man, all these people want to hear from me. I'm like, dude, because you're a stud. So I kind of like watching other people get their recognition and doing their thing. That makes me excited. Somebody's like, man, it must be nice to fly private. I'm like, yeah, if you do the meetings I do, you don't want to be careful what you ask for, dude. You might not want to be in the air 240 days a year. You know what I mean? Like it's don't get me wrong, man. I had not been on a plane much growing up. My mom, raised us working 3 jobs. She worked really hard, and we didn't like go on vacation twice a year to some exotic place. I mean, I didn't get on an airplane until I started playing ball, and we traveled out of state. But Southwest was my best friend the first however many years, and so was Best Western, dude, in the Motel 6. And we didn't have any money, so it was it's definitely, I'd take it this way over the other way. Yeah. But what excites me, man, is really watching people. And sometimes I just sit there and think about that at night, especially if it's been a tough day. And that's what this thing's really about for me, dude, is service. And, that's why when you all were like, will you get on? I'm like, dude, you guys are trying to do something different, man. Of course, we're all in the business. I love to compete. And so people did what I'm doing today. People did for me 10, 12 years ago. And I'll never forget that. So it's been a hell of a ride, man. But I think it's really been the impact I've had on people that is humbles the heck out of me, dude. Yeah, I love it. It reminds me of that one, like, it reminds me like we're all playing in the NBA. We may be wearing different jerseys, but at the end of the day, people are still like the NBA players, they may be rivals on the court, and everybody's like, oh, they don't like each other. And then all of a sudden they're hanging out on the yacht together. And it's like, this is how this business could be. We could definitely like still be competing at the highest like level, but then at the same time, like we still are doing the same thing. We're still all playing the game. And I think, Johnny, for me, we need to be taking the voice away from people that don't know what they're talking about. See, at the end of that's the way I'm honest. It's true. I'm really exhausted. I mean, when people jump on, the first thing, when I got in the business, the first event I went to, I had a small team, 15, 20 of us. And I said, guys, here's the deal. If anybody comes over to give us advice, we immediately ask them how much they issued last year. It's January. They had an entire year. Ask them. So when somebody goes, hey, I've been in the business for a couple of years. How much did you issue last year, Johnny? Now, if you said, what do you mean? That means you didn't, because you don't know how to answer me, right? Last year, that's a pattern interrupt. Yes, last year, Johnny, how much? Well, about 140 grand. Hey, Johnny, do me a favor. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Don't give me advice. You're a disrespectful mother father, because you're going to actually give me advice, and these guys might listen to you, and you have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. If you, when my kids were growing up, he played football, basketball, and baseball. Yeah. And my son played all 3 sports, plays now collegiately baseball. And I remember one year the school said, we need a basketball coach. I said, good luck. And they said, will you coach? I said, I know nothing about basketball. I will do more harm than good. I didn't pretend I knew. Yeah. I didn't do anything. And it got to the point where they were like, we can't have a team if you won't coach. So I was like, I called my buddy Greg, who played at Georgia Tech and overseas. And I was like, I know you're too busy. Will you consult with me? Give me everything I need to know. And I'll coach the games because you can't go. But I need you to teach these young men how to play this game, because I don't know how. Yeah. And most people don't do that nowadays. So this industry has gotten old and stale, and it's time we move them people out. Yeah. I was with an agent, I don't know, a year ago, and the agent's like, I can't do this. I have these leads. I try to make these dollars. Send me the leads. I'll book you 15 appointments in 2 hours. I said, don't tell me how old they are. I don't care. Send me the leads. I'll get you 15 appointments. It's not hard. I'll call them up and tell, and my buddy was like, dude, I can't believe you would do that. I'm like, why? I work here too. You work for somebody who can't pick the phone up and make appointments. You need to quit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm just saying, like, you got to earn the right to make an override. That's the other thing for me. So I love what you're doing, and I love the journey we're on. I love the NBA analogy because, hey, guess what? In the NBA, when some dude who don't play stumbles over and goes, hey, man, hey, Kevin Durant, you should be doing this. I mean, what do you think Kevin Durant goes? Yeah, he's like, dude, bro, no, slow your roll. Know your place. Get back in your aisle. Go sit back on the bench where you belong. You ain't bothering nobody. Get me a towel and get me a water.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Why did everybody start not caring about results? Like that's really what matters. Like, why take advice from somebody you wouldn't want to trade places with? I love that. And I love what you were saying earlier because, this kind of takes me to my next point, but just, it made me think of, I don't know if you listen or know Alex Hormozy, but he talks about, it doesn't matter about how big of a piece of a pie you have. It just matters like how big the pie is. Right. Mm-hmm. And so obviously, like it doesn't matter if you have 25% of a small pie. I mean, Jeff Bezos is Elon Musk is one of is the richest dude in the world, and he only owns 11% of Tesla. And you think about that, it's such a small percentage, but it's of a massive amount of pie. So let me ask you this, because I'm super curious. A lot of agents that I see struggle out of the business. Obviously, I've only been in the business 8 months. But when you think about it, what I've seen over the time is agents struggle with shiny objects, right? Shiny object, this lead, this company, this whatever, right? This product, whatever it is, the CRM. You experience shiny objects to like 1 billion times more than what we're facing, right? Like you think about it. For us, like it's like, oh, a $10,000 deal, like a gig or whatever, like a shiny object, maybe 100,000, but you're dealing like with $1 billion, like of money or whatever, right? Those shiny objects. How do you stay focused? Because obviously you stayed in your lane, you stayed in the life insurance field. There's had to have been so many shiny objects along the way. How do you dial in when it's the object that you could look at is way more shiny than agents?
Yeah. Great question. I think a couple things. When you're struggling, because what happens with most of us is we just don't, it's like you get punched in the face, right? And then most of us are like, well, then I need to do something else. I'm like, no, not necessarily. You're probably close to where you need to be. That's just part of the business. And what I always did, Johnny, was whatever went wrong was my fault. Accountability eliminates this shiny object thing, because if you're accountable for your success, Johnny, a lead's a lead. It's not they. I changed the way I spoke. I didn't say they don't buy. They're the clients are not they. If I make a mistake, I used to do a training. I'd take this whiteboard. I'd draw a lead. I'd be like, Tom and Susan at their house by themselves, fill this out. No promise of anything, no financial incentive. They send it back. And then we introduce you, Johnny. And they magically don't want life insurance. Who's the variable? It ain't Tom and Susan. It's you. Yeah. Every time I didn't close, it was my fault. It didn't matter who they were. Everybody can afford it. They live in America. They have a cell phone. They have a residence. They probably have a car. They can afford it. So when you start thinking about, I only focused on what I can control. And I used to tell people early on, because I had a lot of guys that are big, as you put it, shiny object guys. I was like, the new idea department is closed. We have something simple we're running. We don't need a new idea every 12 minutes. We need to get enough leads. We have plenty of clients. There's millions of licensed agents out there and hundreds of millions of people. So you'll get a company that does, our volume's large. Our volume is much larger than any IMO, NMO, FMO that's out there. And that's okay. Yeah. But there's a huge pie, right? As you said. So when you look at us, we could grow by 10x and it wouldn't be a big deal. Like it would be 60,000 agents. Like it wouldn't be that big a deal because there's millions of agents and hundreds of millions of Americans. You could start doing 30, 40, 50, 60 million a year, and it wouldn't be that big a deal. It'd be a big deal. Like, I'd be proud of you, but the world wouldn't, like, Forbes is not going to write an article on you. The world's not, we're not going to be Elon Musk. We're going to be doing something that's amazing. So I think you have to make a commitment to stay focused, right? And my rule was, if you can't control it, don't focus on it. This lead sucks. Okay, the lead doesn't suck. How long you been dialing it? And here's the thing, with the right attitude, you'll convert any lead. Because here's a truism in the industry. The newer the lead, the more expensive it is. Direct mail, you'd say is better quality. I don't argue it. It's new, it's more expensive.
Yeah.
These ones are cheaper. So either way, it's an economy. It all adds up. You just got to put in more. You just got to decide what you want to do. And it depends on what your budget is, right? And then your attitude. We spend way too much time doing X's and O's. You know, like when I coached, one of the things I realized, did you play ball growing up, Johnny?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you play?
Basketball.
Basketball. Were you a point guard, shooting guard?
Shooting guard. Yeah.
Shooting guard. Okay. So for me, when I finally, and I educated myself on the game, but I always said, it's weird. When the game was close to the end, timeout stuff, I never played. I played football and baseball. Played both in high school, went to college and played in both. But basketball, I played in high school for fun. I hated it. I was never involved. All my job was to screen, box out, and get the ball to Mike and or to Scott. That's it. My job was never to take and put it back up unless I was like standing right underneath the hoop. Does that make sense? So I really didn't know a lot about it. But when we started playing these travel teams and we traveled all over New England, the biggest thing I worked on, Johnny, was the attitude with the kids. You're going to walk into a hostile environment. People are going to try to get inside your head, unlike any other sport, because you have closer contact.
Yeah.
They're going to do a lot of this. It doesn't matter. You don't stand there when you're warming up, staring at the other team. Who are we playing today, coach? Whoever shows up on the other bench. If they show up on the other bench and they have different jerseys than us, that's who we're playing against. Who gives a damn if LeBron James kid shows up? Whoever's here is who we're going to play. Yeah. And I think we got to talk to ourselves like that and get our minds right in this business. This is an amazing business. But if your mind's wrong, you'll screw it up. And listen, it's great to read books. It's great to go to meetings. It's great to do all that. And it is. Yeah. But what you have to do, you got to spend a lot of time getting tougher internally. That external motivation will wear off. It has to come from inside. When you get the internal motivation where you're like, okay, so what? They said no. So what? They said no 4 times in a row, 7 times in a row, 12 times in a row. It doesn't matter because, as you said earlier, you'll start pushing. You never know when you hit that pot of gold. You just don't. I mean, there were so many times in our business the first 3 or 4 years that were like, man, we could have been out of business. We had one insurance carrier when we started. We had one insurance carrier. Nobody in the business wanted us to have any carriers. They didn't want us to compete with them, which is like, dude, what are you afraid about competing? So we had one. They were different than they were today. They didn't have all the options. They didn't issue, but it was what we had. So what you do when you learn to live, it's like if you grow up with no money, you learn to figure it out. If you grow up with no car, you walk and take the bus. If you lose one leg, I mean, there are people that lose, they got one arm and they play, Division I college basketball. They have one hand and play professional baseball. They can't see out of one eye and they do. So I think a lot of us just have to have perspective. And I'll every day I woke up in the morning, I said this to myself, 155,000 people. This was 10, 12 years old, may have changed. But I was in a meeting and a guy said 155,000 people die on average every day. If you woke up, you weren't one of them. And I'm always like, I'm blessed. I'm ahead of the game. And, dude, I think it's disrespectful to start whining, complaining, moaning, because what causes you to look for new shiny objects is the pity party. The pity party's followed by, oh, Tom's got a better lead. That's obviously why it'll work better for me. Oh, he's in that area. I always love that. You do really well, Sean. Is it the area? I'm like, no, I'm just better than you. I'm just better than you. No, I used to tell people all the time, no, I work harder than you. I'm just better than you. No, it's not the lead. Give me a napkin with a name on it and I'll sell it. Like as long as they as long as they can get life insurance and they know they need life insurance, they haven't taken care of it already. So I think it's that you have to get a thickness of skin and a really tough mental attitude, which will allow you to be successful. And by the way, most shiny object ideas come from people that aren't doing anything. Stop talking to people that don't do anything. Those hallway seminar people that want to be talked to. So they don't sit in the meeting, they sit outside and pontificate. All you got to do is go, here's a leaderboard. We used to carry the leaderboard with us, Johnny, in our back pocket, my old company. We would carry it. And it'd be like the top 600 agents. So we'd be like, we have this. Where are you on here? What name is yours? And if they weren't on it, they were told to leave us alone. It is.
I love it,
bro. That's how we did it.
I love it. It's so good because it's just it really puts all the focus on the result. If you're not getting the result, why are you giving advice, right?
100%. You have no right to, dude. It's disrespectful.
It's so good. What are some of the top skills that you see in builders?
Man,
Because
yeah,
I think agents is a really solid thing, but I'm really curious to see what the top skills that you see or characteristics that you see in builders.
I think the greatest builders I've seen in this business, all right, for 15 years, are people that they genuinely, Johnny, want to see other people win, which means they have the courage to confront and interrogate their reality. Great builders, I think, learn a lot about the person they're working with. Like, I won't do, but if you and I were working together, I'd know about how you were raised, where you grew up, strengths, weaknesses, stuff you'd gone through, your biggest adversity in life. And it would teach me, either you would share with me, which most people do, or you wouldn't. And then I wouldn't write you off because you didn't. That just might mean that you're not comfortable with me, but I want to learn as much as I can about you. I think those people, if you and I meet for the first time and you talk for 25 minutes and I talk for 4, you know I care about you. I ask questions. I listen. I think people building a business and in the insurance space genuinely care about the people they're recruiting. I think they also become emotionally attached to the business, not the agent. Like, I want agents to all win, 100%. But Johnny, if you decide to go on vacation for 4 weeks and get drunk every day, that's not my life, dude. I can't, what am I going to do? And a lot of people fall apart and they're like, I don't know why Johnny does that. I'm like, well, if you recruited enough people, you wouldn't worry about what Johnny does. The great builders and recruiters, dude, they recruit 24/7. And again, they're attachments to the business. What a lot of people get mired in is they get 3 or 5 or 7 people and they try to will them to do it. And also, don't overestimate what you're going to do to help them. Dude, most of the work they're going to do on their own. So I always tell agents when I recruited them, I was like, Johnny, when you have success, not if, when you have success, you're going to get all the credit. Johnny, if you fail, you're going to get all the credit. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. I'll give you everything I know. I'll share everything with you. I'll support you through your dials and your first in-home or over the phone or over Zoom, however you're selling. I'll support you. But I'm not going to, and a lot of builders take credit for people's success. My team, you see my team, I'm like, dude, they're just selling life insurance like everybody else. They got leads and they called them up and they sold them. Nobody, Johnny, no matter who recruited you or who did what, your attitude, the way you carry yourself, your significance that you know you have, and your desire to be uncomfortable. Most people wouldn't get on this and do this at all. They'd be uncomfortable. You're not concerned what other people think on some level. You wouldn't do this. Let them talk, dude. Hey, if they ain't talking junk about you, you haven't accomplished anything. I had an attorney one day years ago. He said, congratulations on getting sued. I said, congratulations. I've never been sued. He goes, you finally have done something in business of significance, because it'll piss people off. And when you piss them off, they'll come after you. So you have those skills, Johnny. Those can be taught. I don't like when people say that, well, no, that's not true. Those can be, all those skills that you have, they can be taught. The builder has to recruit every day, all day, like he doesn't have a team or she doesn't have a team. And most people can't. We get a couple. The builder has to understand that every company you're aware of has a risk management department. Any decent sized company has a risk management department, human resources. You're all of that for your company. But when there's advanced business, you're going to buy leads sometimes for people who are not going to sell anything. They're going to write 5 policies. They're going to charge back some money to you. And the people that are bad at this do stuff like, well, that's not my dad. No, you recruited him. It is. It is. And this is the greatest business I've ever been part of. But there are some ups and downs. That's the way that it works. And I think the great people there, and all the ones I've seen do it, Johnny, I'm just shooting you straight. I don't know a builder that's great at this. And I don't know anybody that runs a company that's great at it that didn't grind in the field for a while. They didn't need to grind in the field forever, but that didn't, because if you're telling me what it feels like to go 0 for 10 and you've never gone 0 for 1, you don't know, which means you really can't commiserate with me and you can't really talk to me. And I think I always look at it like some of these big universities, right? You can go to the University of Alabama. Where are you from? Where are you right now, Johnny? What state?
Arizona.
Okay, you can go to the University of Alabama. You cannot play and get drafted and play in the NFL. I mean, they recruit that many people. There's that many scouts at their practices, the football practice, where you can literally be a guy that got a few snaps, but you're so damn good because Alabama recruited so much. And I was listening to Reuben Foster, I think it was one day, I went to the University of Alabama. And I said, why'd you pick them, man? Everybody in the country recruited you. Like, you were like best linebacker coming out. Why'd you pick University of Alabama? He said, Coach Saban, I was outside his office, and he called me in, and he said every other place I went, they were building statues to me already. Like, man, I get to do this. I'm the captain. I'm this. I'm that. I'm the greatest. He said, Saban looked at me after doing some paperwork. He said, Ruben, got some good news for you. You have the opportunity to compete for a position here just like everybody else. And if you earn your spot, you're going to play. And if you don't, you're not. And the way I look at it is you can go to any university in the country that's all recruiting you. And you can watch that. You can watch us win national championships. Or you can come here and win some. And he said that moment in time made that decision. See what happens when you say to people in a room, you get 100 people in a room and say, most of you won't make it. Because most people won't make it. I mean, you want to sugarcoat it. Most people won't. If you're on right now and you're in the more than half, you're not going to, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Could
everybody? I think so. Everybody, I mean, I don't think it doesn't mean everybody's going to be number one producer. The winners in that room are like, I'll do it. I can do that. And the people that don't believe in themselves, they may not be demotivated, but they're not angry or have an edge either. I was looking to find, and when you're building it, John, you need to find 3 or 4 strong legs. And those are accountable people that you can help build a business with, people you enjoy talking to, because accountable people you'll enjoy talking to.
Yeah.
And I think, the last thing I'll say is most people work with who they like, not who's productive. They don't interrogate somebody's reality. If somebody's going broke, they don't go, hey man, got a minute? Yeah. You know that you can't sustain your bills with what you're doing. Well, no, I'm doing that. No. Stop, dude. We're doing not hypotheticals, not fictional. You've written $9,000 this month and you have real adult bills. You're going to financially die in this business. You got to do, if you care about people, you do that. My son was little. We had his driveway. He used to run up and down a driveway and it was a busy street.
Yeah.
And he as he got older, he got faster. And I ain't fast. God didn't make me fast. I ain't running from nobody. I run at you, not away from you. So I need to be fast. So he got older. And I was like, damn, if he gets a far enough head start, he could get, So I grabbed him one day and he was probably still 200 feet from the end of the driveway, carried him inside, went in the refrigerator, grabbed an egg, brought him back out to the road, waited for the cars to go by, took the egg, smashed down the pavement. I said, you run out in this road one more time, son, and one of these cars hits you. That egg is going to be your head. You're going to be dead on this pavement. And I cannot let that happen. Then I'm going to find the driver that hit you, beat them to death, because if it's a guy, I got to beat garbage out of him. This is a bad program. And he'll, to this day, because he never forgot. And I was scared. Johnny, I did that because I was scared. I was scared for my son. I wanted him to be okay. I wanted him to know that the rest of his life, I can't always be there when he's running around near things that could hurt him. Yeah. And I think for us in this business, we don't do that with people. We see them driving into this brick wall and we don't do anything. We don't go, hey man, you get drunk all weekend long. You don't make any money. When do you think you'll grow up from that? Hey man, how do you think your family feels about you not working hard? Hey man, I'm glad you understand every player that plays for the Cardinals, but it don't pay you. Dude, hey man, I'm glad you watched the college football game on Saturday, but you're broke as crap. The good builders, and they don't do it to be an idiot, Johnny. They care so much about the person. You care about the client, so you're willing to get uncomfortable. You will ask them questions and challenge them. Yeah. Because you do care, but you also want to make a sale. That's instant gratification. Nothing wrong with that. You care about it and want to make a sale. On the building side, if most good producers did with their agents what they do with their clients, they'd grow by 10 times a year. But they don't. Because they don't know how to do it there. So they just kind of walk around and nobody's in charge. You want people to have a sense of urgency, give them short-term goals and structure. That'll create a sense of urgency.
You give them that short-term goal based on what they've shared with you in or just pretty much based on on what they could accomplish?
Great question. I first of all, I want to find out their financial picture. Okay. I stand behind the fact that if you're in this business and you don't help 15 families reach a $15K a month, I think you're going to really struggle to pay your bills. 70% of it's going to stay in the books. You got some lead costs. Some people have bigger bills. Some have less. There's some people that have no dependents. They might be able to get by on less. The average person. So I start with the average. And then I go, all right, Johnny, explain to me kind of how your debt works monthly. Mortgage, rent, kids, not car payment, anything else, student loans. Walk me through what you have to pay every month. Then I'll literally sit down. I did it with every agent I work with, dude. All right, so now we have this. If you write this, your lead cost will be this. Take this off. 70% of it will stay in the books. 30%, boom. You got to pay this much in taxes. Take this off. Now, all of a sudden, I give you your real number. You start sitting up there breaking down $15K for the month, and after lead cost, the percentage, your commission, you go, oh, man, I can't live on that. Exactly. So now your short-term goal is how quickly can we get to $5,000 above that so you can actually pay your bills and survive. And then as we move forward, Johnny, I try to figure out who wants more than that. And a lot of people, dude, you know, I used to go to the gym with this trainer, right? I work out of my house now, and I never wanted a six-pack. Like, I never said to him, hey, bro, I want a six-pack. Like, never one time. And he would always like come, and I'm like, dude, I never said that. I want to look a little bit better. I want to feel okay about myself, but I don't want to look like I live in the gym, and I'm not going to live in the gym. I got an hour a day to do this, dude. I'll do it 7 days a week. And he would try to give me these. I didn't want that. So sometimes people are just, listen, and there's nothing wrong with that. When people are disparaging, I was listening to this guy as an influencer on, I don't watch this stuff, but somebody sent to me, and the guy was like, if you don't make $400,000 a year, you're pathetic as a man and as a father. And it's like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, if you said it to me, I'd punch him square in the face. Like, who are you? Dude, if somebody needs to make $81,000 a year and they're happy, leave them alone. And if they come to you one day and go, hey, Johnny, I'm watching what you're doing as passive income thing. Looks pretty cool. I wasn't ready then, but I'm ready now. All right, why are you ready, man? I'm good, but there's going to be some ups and downs with this thing. Walk them through it, because you try to get somebody to do something they don't want to do, dude, they're going to subconsciously fight you on it. I think a lot of builders try to build through people who don't want to build, and let the person find their path. And somebody said to me the other day, he's not going to do it. I said, today's not his day. But I'll tell you what, biggest guy we got at our company, Andrew Taylor, it wasn't his day the first couple of years. He was there, man. He wasn't bothering anybody. He was doing his thing. And one day he's like, I want to build something massive. I want to be bigger than every company out there. Like, I want to be huge. And I was like, why? Explained about his family, what he wanted to do, wanted to have kids. I was like, let's do it. But he decided when a man or woman's empowered on their own internally, and they have the right mindset and the right goal and the right North Star, get out of their way, dude. And then all you got to do is kind of just be there along the way to help them, and just let them run. So I see those qualities in good builders, and I see the other ones in people that aren't able to build it.
It's so good. I love it. I have to ask.
Ask anything you want, bro.
What's your best piece of advice for a 21-year-old?
So, you know, and again, I'm going to keep using Andrew Taylor, but he was in his early 20s, and he asked me this. And I said, give me 3 things you do on a weekly basis. And he walked me through them. And none of them were income producing activities, right? And I said, what if just what if for the next 6 months, you didn't participate in any of that? What if you didn't drink? I mean, a lot of people drink, but I'm just saying, like, he was like, I drink a couple nights a week. He didn't have a problem with me. I've been sober 22 years. I have a problem, Johnny. That's why I don't drink and use drugs, because I have a problem. He didn't have no problem, but it didn't help him. And he's like, and I hang out with my buddies on the weekends, and I do this. There were 3. And I said, what if you just eliminated all those non-income producing activities for 6 months? Just let's see what happens at the end of 6 months. And the other thing I would say to you is, it's going to be hard for people that your age, for you to find other people your age that understand what you're going through, because they're not where you are. You're years ahead emotionally, psychologically today than they are. You are more focused than they are. And it probably is weird to them. That they're probably the biggest haters, and like, why is he trying to do this? Are you better? And a guy said to me one day, when I was 21, I was trying to get a real estate license. I was trying to launch another company. And I remember one of my buddies said, you think you're better than us? And I go, no, I want more than you guys. I don't think I'm a better person than you. I want more out of life than you. I want to buy my mom a house. I want to be able to make sure when I have kids one day, they don't have to worry about money. I want to live a better life. Yeah, I think I want more out of life than you. You have to acknowledge, Johnny, that you probably want more out of life than your peers. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if, were you raised in Arizona?
No, I was raised in New Mexico.
New Mexico, okay. With your mom and dad?
Yeah.
What's your mom and dad do for work?
My dad is a pharmaceutical sales guy,
Yeah.
but like on a salary. And then my mom is a caregiver.
Got it. Okay. So you grew up middle class. I mean, did pretty well, weren't rich,
Yeah,
you
weren't
know.
rich, but weren't like didn't worry about the bills being paid for sure.
There you go. So you already have a leg up, dude. I mean, you have mom, dad. Dad was already in sales, even though it was salary. So you learned a lot of those things. You weren't broke. You know, you if you wanted it, you guys could get it, and that's a good
Yeah.
thing. You have to understand that too, as a 21-year-old, that a lot of people didn't grow up with that, and you got to try to be able to find a way to plug that hole. And the other thing is, it doesn't matter how long people have been in this business. You're 8 months or 8 years. It doesn't matter to me, because if I was looking to get in this business now, okay, and I'm a hell of a lot older than you, and you called me up, or some guy had been in the business 25 years, and I said, how much do you sell? That would be my question. How big's your agency? How much you sell? You said, I've been in 8 months. I'm selling this much a month. Here's how quick my agency's growing in 8 months. I'll take the guy in 8 months that might be doing $500,000 a month compared to the guy that's been doing it for 25 years that's at 1.2 million a month. I mean, that's a no-brainer, dude. So know that you want more, know that you can achieve more, and don't try to, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. If somebody believes something to be true to their core, they have to change their minds. You can just provide information and get out of the way. So all you got to do is keep selling a bunch, dude, pour the money into it. I poured every dollar into FFL for years. It came in, it went back out. It came in, it went out. It came in, it went out. I just understood the scalability of the businesses. You know, I sat in a meeting with Arthur Blank, who was one of the founders of Home Depot, and he taught me that 12 years ago. I just listened to him. I was like, what would be your best advice? I said, actually, it was about 12 years ago. I told him what I was trying to accomplish. This was in my 30s. And he said, don't be afraid to invest in your business. Don't starve it. You know, he called it HD. At HD, he said, I put everything back, and it took me a long time to make a profit. But again, you know, a small percentage of a company worth billions of dollars is a lot of money, you know, so it's okay to be great. It's okay to want more. It's okay to recruit people younger than you, older than you. It's okay you should be attracted to all kinds of people, and just, hey, be a sponge, dude. Do the stuff you're doing now. Get around people that know more than you. Ask good questions. Be interested in them. Know when not to say anything, and they'll give you all the information in the world. And have courage. Because at the end of the day, when you're like, you know, you want to get on this thing, I was like, through John, I was like, I usually say no, but let me look at it. And I was like, I kind of like him. Like, he seems like good. I like his energy. Yes. But all I could have said was no.
Yeah.
So what? I said no. What's the worst thing that happened? I said no. So what? So be proud of yourself, dude. Embrace how you're different, and embrace the fact that you've been put in a position to lead some people. Not positional leadership. Positional leadership is you're the manager because your uncle worked here. No, you've earned it. And dude, go be great, man, and empower and inspire people, and keep a thick skin. Because when you start getting good, Johnny, and you will, they are going to run their mouths about you. They're going to run their mouths about you wearing a hat. They're going to run their mouths about what you say. They're going to run all of it, dude, and embrace it. Don't react to it. Tuck your ears in. No rabbit ears, man. Tuck them in. You don't hear nothing anybody says, and just stay the course. Stay the course, dude, and know what keep your eyes so fixated on that prize that nobody can derail that track you're on.
I love that. Well, Sean, I appreciate you coming on here, man. Seriously, it's been super fun. Great time being able to talk to you, give value to people genuinely. What's one thing that you could wrap up with, just an agent that may be struggling, that may be coming in here, that wants a great, sees that there's a massive opportunity that they have, and they're kind of getting discouraged. What's one piece that you could give them of advice? And we'll wrap up there.
You know, have fun with this thing, man. I mean, literally, if you're in the business of calling, if you're at a company and there's no leads, I'd go find a company with leads. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. You don't like that, that's fine. But I cold knocked, I cold called. You know, you can only call your family members so much. But for most of you in here, you probably have leads. Wherever you work at, there's leads. I mean, every one of those people is vulnerable and they want help, right? It's a small percentage of the hundreds of millions of people out there. They've raised their hand and said, come help me. Come help me. Most of us get in our own heads and we intimidate ourselves, and we start thinking about all the things they would say. Or we talk to somebody who says they're going to say this and they're going to say this. Johnny, I would never fill a lead out because I got trust issues. I got problems. I would never do it. So if you called me, Johnny, and cold called me, I would smoke you. I'd be like, dude, I didn't fill out. Don't call me ever again. But that's not who our clients are.
Yeah.
They're 1 or 2% of the population that said, hey, man, yeah, you're going to have to do some work, and know that 25% of people are going to say yes no matter what. 25% are going to ask a question or two at most. 25% are going to be a little bit more work, and 25%, you might just not close them. That's okay. Know who they are, identify who they are. You won't get emotionally exhausted if that no sale lasts you 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. If you spend time with people and you don't know where they are on the phone, Zoom, in the home, just stop and ask them. Hey, Johnny, listen, I'm not trying to be difficult. You fill this thing out. It seems like no matter what I say up, you say down. I say hot, you say cold. Is there something I've done to make you distrust me? Just talk to me, Johnny, because I feel like we're going way off track here. And then if you can't bring them back, cut loose and go on to your next person, and don't ride that emotional roller coaster. It's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is. If you stay consistent and you have mine was 30 appointments a week. I needed 30 appointments a week. I needed to sit. All my stuff was in home, 30 appointments a week. If I had 30 appointments a week, it didn't matter because I could go 18 for my first 18, 2 for my first 14. And all of a sudden I roll out there and it's a husband and wife and it's $720 a month issued right away. They're ecstatic. I know they're going to keep it. Like life's good. You just never know. So keep your head up. Only listen to people that are actually doing what you're doing. And when you start feeling bad about yourself, have some perspective. Perspective will cure a lot, dude. The worst thing you got is a financial problem. Get down on your hands and knees and thank God that's your worst problem because that's easy to overcome in America. Yeah. And the life insurance industry is a great industry. It's a great industry. Being entrepreneurial is hard. Being an independent contractor is hard. It is a grind. You need thick skin and you need to develop it. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. So, but if you choose to put in the time and learn people that are doing it and get uncomfortable, you're here and the client's here. Until somebody's uncomfortable, nothing happens. You have to be uncomfortable and ask tough questions and share about you. Find some things about you that people wouldn't know that are uncomfortable to share. That shows them that as you're asking them, you're vulnerable as well. So all those things, Johnny, I would do. And hey, man, keep doing your thing. I love what you're doing. Love your energy. I love your intellect, and I love your compassion and empathy for other people. And for all of you on here, man, keep going. It's a great industry. And if you haven't thought about quitting, you're probably not working hard enough. That happens. I mean, do you ever think about quitting? Yeah, well, I wasn't going to quit, but times were tough. Yes. But I also kind of looked at what was I doing before this and what is my plan B? And if you don't have a plan B, which most people don't, if this is your plan A, act like it. If it's your plan A, you can't retreat every 3 days when it doesn't go well. If this is your plan A, realize this is all I got. Let's go to war. Let's figure it out. So thanks for letting me get on, buddy. I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, so much for watching to the end. Obviously, massive nuggets. Drop in the comments what you guys are going to take from this episode and implement this week, and keep putting the fuel on the fire. It's Friday. Keep it going. Keep crushing it. Sean, thanks so much for coming on here, man. We'll see you guys next week.